Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be the top 15 non-legendaries for the arena, so let's get into it. Alrighty, yeah, it's been about 9 months since I've done a video like this kind of for the arena, and that one was a little bit different than just kind of discussing the best non-legendaries to use in terms of having success and building up and structuring an arena team around it. So starting at number 15, I am going to pull up in the index and go straight into talking about Bellower. Bellower has a good base speed for a rare of 99, and he's such a good just general utility support. Being void, you don't have to worry about him ever being weak against his opponent or anything. We got an AoE A1 that blocks cooldown skills. We're just firing those every turn, and you got a chance to really proc a super useful effect, a 30% chance when booked. He's a rare, so he's cheap to build, and you can get so much general utility out of all of his AoE, decreasing speed, decreasing defense, decreasing attack, blocking cooldown skills. He's void with a decent base speed. You don't have to build him as a damage dealer, so he's a little bit easier to gear. You just get him with good speed, good accuracy, and he can get a lot of early to mid game utility in the arena. At number 14, I'm going to go with Jingle Hunter, and Jingle Hunter is a little bit slept on by the community. He's actually a pretty decent champion, and he's pretty good in the arena. Now, I actually used Jingle Hunter in my arena team for a few months when I was kind of a mid-game player because he's actually got a really good base speed of 101, and he brings an ally speed in the arena aura of 24%, which is hard to find. There's only a few champions that have good ally speed in the arena auras, and Jingle Hunter is one of them. He's also got this ability here that is an AoE, decrease turn meter by 20% if critical, and also fills his turn meter by 10% if critical. On a 4-turn cooldown, you can start your arena battle with that, and it's pretty solid. Now, you do need accuracy to land the decreased turn meter, so make sure you build Jingle Hunter with good accuracy. He's also got a 100% chance of placing freeze if he kills an enemy. Now, you can book that, get it to hit decently hard, and get it on a 3-turn cooldown. Freeze is also very good in the arena. The A1 is not super impactful, but it does at least place decreased speed, so it's better than nothing. It's a decent A1. It's just not really good, and you're going to want Jingle Hunter to be very high speed and very high accuracy. At number 13, you're probably all familiar with this guy, and this is going to be Kale, one of these starting champions that you can choose when you pick up Raid Shadow Legends. Now, Kale has a really good base speed of 103 for a rare, and he's probably the best option in terms of being a nuker early game. He's got really good multipliers. He's got poisons. He's got just so much general utility that you can bring him in an arena team early, mid game. I used Kale for like 6 months in my arena team. He performed really well for me on my way up, kind of transitioning into the end game, and he comes in at number 13. Number 12 is going to be War Maiden, probably one of the best free-to-play champions in the game because you can get her from the campaign. You can also farm books for her in the campaign. War Maiden's main selling point is the fact that she's got this AoE on a 3-turn cooldown when booked of 100% chance of placing the big version of decreased defense. That's such an amazing ability for a rare champion to have, and that alone puts her up here in the top 15 at number 12. Number 11 is going to be Miscreated Monster. He's got so much utility in terms of either a long sustained fight or a quick kind of nuking style. He can bring a lot of utility in both because he's really good for like an arena defense because he's based on HP, so you can scale him, his damage and his toughness at the same time. HP and defense champions are very good in that regard. He's also got an A1 that places stun and can place decreased defense. The A2 is going to place pretty significant shields if you can get him to hit decently hard, and it's an AoE that also places stun. Then we've got Ally Protection, heals this champion, places a 15% continuous heal buff for 3 turns, and then the passive is going to be proccing fear debuffs whenever one of your allies is attacked while under the ally protection that he is placing. So Miscreated Monster, just so much suppression utility in terms of any sort of a sustained fight in the arena, and that makes him one of the best non-legendaries in the game to put in like an arena defense team if you're trying to fight a sustained battle. Number 10 is going to be the super famous Apothecary. He's probably the best rare in the game, and just overall, it's probably him or Bellower. And Apothecary has speed and turn meter buffing, which is extremely good. I've seen this guy like just solo, put him in the arena as your defense by himself, and down in like bronze and silver, he can solo and just stay alive forever because he's got crit heals that can be super huge. We got 35% HP, and it can crit, and it's on a 2-turn cooldown. So this guy, if you build him with pretty good toughness, can be insanely hard to take down in the early game. You couple that with him also slotting in to nuke strategies, you get him with insane speed. He buffs speed and turn meter, and he slots right into so many of those early to mid game arena teams. Number 9 is going to be Zargala. Now, Zargala's selling point is this crack armor, which attacks all enemies 3 times, which is interesting. We don't have that an ability like that very often in Raid. So AoE that hits 3 times after the first hit, a 50% chance of placing a big version of decreased defense debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. So a really good decreased defense debuffer, which is a very vital role in any arena team. And then she's also got an ability to proc that ability by this Devastate, which hits pretty hard. You get a kill with that, and then it's instantly going to activate Cracked Armor, which is her A3, and keep that defense super lowered, and we're constantly debuffing the enemies, and then she can, you know, hit them with this Devastate that we can get to a 2-turn cooldown. So with a base speed of 103 and a base crit damage of 60, we can get her to hit pretty hard. She's got pretty good multipliers and great ability to constantly decrease the defense of your opponents. Number 8 is going to be Tyrell, one of the best general utility epics in the game. He's based on defense, which is extremely good. We can make him very tough and also do pretty good damage. Now, his Singing Steel is kind of his selling point because it's an AoE that has a huge chance when booked. I think it's 100%. Yeah, 75 plus 25, 100% chance of placing a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. How I just talked about with Zargala, that's a very vital role, but he's based on defense, so he can be much tougher than Zargala. And then if they are under a decreased attack, you can bring somebody that lowers their attack. Then he's got a chance of placing a sleep on them, which is also very good if you can tune it right to work with your team, taking advantage of the sleep. And then his preemptive strike ability here hits very hard, and and it has also turn meter manipulation. So attack one enemy, decrease their turn meter by 50%. And if it fully, like if they're under 50%, if it fully depletes them, it will place a stun for 2 turns. That's crazy. Usually stuns are 1 turn. A 2-turn stun is an insane debuff. So it also hits very hard. This preemptive strike has pretty good multipliers. So Tyrell coming in at number 8 and can do very well in the arena for all sorts of teams out there. Number 7 is going to be Stag Knight. Now, the first thing we'll notice, a 107 base speed is incredible. When we want champions that are good in the arena, having a high base speed really helps. It makes them easier to gear to get them up to those good speed numbers that you're going to need to progress in the arena. And the calling card for Stag Knight is this 3-turn AoE with a 70% chance that we can book to 95. So remember, if you're doing his masteries, the Sniper mastery and the support tree is going to be very good for him. That way we can get Huntmaster from 95 to 100%. But it's going to place the big version of decreased defense and decreased attack on a 3-turn cooldown AoE. So Huntmaster is one of the best general utility abilities in the game, and then he's also got a passive that's going to help our team land debuffs more consistently, which is obviously extremely good in the arena. Number 7 is going to be Sylar, and I really love Sylar. I don't think people use her enough or are high enough on her. I love her utility as a champion. The base speed of 105, you know I like that. Then we've got an AoE A1, which means we can put her in suppression sets like stun, sleep, all of that, and her A1 will be constantly proccing those effects. Then we've got an AoE A2 that's going to decrease accuracy of your opponents, which in the arena we don't want to be getting debuffed, so it's basically like a resistance buff for your whole team. And then the Leaden Legs is going to place a decreased speed debuff on all enemies for 2 turns and decrease their turn meter by 40%. That's a pretty significant AoE turn meter reduction, and in any sort of sustained setup, like if you've got a miscreated monster placing shields and you've got a reviver and some healer and you're trying to fight like a sustained type setup, decreasing their speed, decreasing their turn meters, the suppression A1, lowering their accuracy, doing all that type of stuff with a good base speed of 105 and being void, so she's never weak. I think Sylar is a little bit slept on, and she's a pretty insane champion that you can slot into many different setups. At number 5, I'm going to go with Umbral Enchantress. Now, there's a couple different routes you can go with Umbral, and one thing I do want to point out is her base speed is not super good. It's 93, which is a little bit low for a Void Epic, but if you can get that speed up and get good enough gear, she's got really insane abilities, and you can kind of go a couple different ways with her. So books are also very impactful because she's got these 2 abilities that are an 80% chance to place, and her books are going to take them from 80 to 100. So books very impactful on Umbral. If you're going to be using her in the arena, you're probably going to want to save up some epic books for her, but you can kind of choose the route you want to go. So we've got an AoE that's going to place a block buffs debuff for 3 turns. That's insane in the arena. 3 turns is an eternity in the arena, and your opponent not being able to place any buffs on anyone is just a crazy ability. You can also go with the Undying Evil ability here that's going to place an AoE provoke, get everyone to attack her, and then it's gonna place an unkillable on her so she can't die. And if you get her in like a freeze set or something, you get the whole team attacking her, focusing her down and placing freezes on top of it. So there's a bunch of different ways you can go with Umbral, and she can be just absolutely nutty in the arena. Number 4 is going to be Seeker. Now, when you're coming up in Raid Shadow Legends, you know, early game, mid game, kind of transitioning into Gold 2, Gold 3, Gold 4, I love to go the speed route. And Seeker is just an amazing epic in terms of going the speed route because of the Tailwind ability here. It's one of the best abilities in the game for like a nuking setup because you get in with insane speed. He's going to fill the turn meter of all allies and place a 50% increase attack buff on them, and then grant an extra turn that he can then turn around and use his A1 to possibly provoke someone. Now, his A1 is pretty book intensive if you want that provoke to have a good chance of landing, but if you're going to use a Seeker in the arena for a while, he's probably worth it because that Tailwind, granting an extra turn, and then choosing someone that you can provoke can be absolutely insane. Now we get into the top 3, and I'm going to kick it off with Gorgorab. I love that Gorgorab has a speed aura for the arena that is very good. If you're building any sort of speed nuking setup, you're obviously going to want a leader with a speed aura. And then he's got an A1 that is removing buffs, which is super impactful on an A1. An A2 that fills turn meter and increases attack, so kind of similar to Seeker. You build him with insane speed. He can boost turn meter, boost attack. He has the speed aura, so he can really help you go first and then be impactful by going first by increasing your attack. And then he's also a reviver and a healer. So Gorgorab is just check, 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 check. So many boxes, you know, speed aura, buff strip, turn meter boost, attack boost, revive, heal. He's just an insane arena champion. And if you summon him, you're probably going to be using him in the arena unless you are super endgame, because if you're early or mid game, Gorgorab can slot into your team and do absolute work for you in the arena. At number 2, I'm going to put Skullcrown. She is an absolute monster in the arena. Her crippling touch has insane multipliers. It's one of the best scaling abilities in the game in terms of scaling with attack and crit damage. You can get her to hit insanely hard with this ability. She's also got an AoE A1. You know I love those because you have so many options and different routes you can go with AoE A1s that places an extra hit if the target has more than 50% HP. And then she's also got a super annoying passive to deal with, which is place an unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn every time her HP drops below 20%. So you'll see Skullcrowns all the time in the arena, and they are so tough to kill because no matter how hard you hit them, she's got this unkillable buff. She just sits there and takes everything, and then she gets her turn and does this super hard-hitting crippling touch that can just decimate your team. And oh, by the way, she's also got an ally speed aura in the arena, so similar to Gorgorab, she just checks so many boxes and slots into so many roles, and also has the self-sustain of the automatically placed unkillable buffs. So Skullcrown is an absolute beast in the arena. She's also void, so you don't have to worry about her ever hitting weak. Alrighty, time for my number 1 non-legendary champion for the arena. Do you know who it is? Where am I going here? All right, I'm going into the Dark Elves, and I'm going to do Madame Saris. I have no idea how to say her name. I'm sure I said it wrong, and that's okay. We're just going to have to deal with that. So she's got a base speed of 100, and again, there's a couple different routes you can go with Saris. Now, she's got an AoE with a 40% chance of stealing a random buff. Not just removing it, but stealing it. That's insane. Also, place a block debuffs buff on all allies for 2 turns if any buff is stolen. And place a true fear, not just a fear, a true fear debuff for 1 turn on enemies who have buffs stolen. So, you know, people buffing their team is super common. You let that happen, you strip the buffs, you place a block debuffs on your allies, you place true fear, an insane ability there for the arena. And then she's also got this midnight ritual that removes all buffs from enemies again and decreases their attack and their defense, not for 2 turns, but for 3 turns, which is an eternity in the arena. She's also got this passive that places a shield buff on this champion equal to 10% of their max HP at the start of each turn. So Saris can also kind of sustain herself, and when she's under a shield, she has a 35% chance of placing a fear debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. She's also got an A1 that is going to place fear, and the chance increases to 30% if they are under a debuff, which is super common, and 45% if under 2 or more debuffs, which is also going to be kind of common. It's pretty, it's a good idea to bring debuffers into an arena battle. So wow, so much utility, and she's void. You don't have to worry about her ever being weak. Self-sustain, placing fear, blocking debuffs, stripping buffs, lowering defense, lowering attack. An absolute beast of a champion in the arena, and she's used all the way up into a lot of platinum teams at the highest levels of raid. So yeah, that's going to do it for my top 15 non-legendary champions in the arena for Raid Shadow Legends. And just to wrap up, it was number 15 Bellower, 14 Jingle Hunter, 13 Kale, 12 War Maiden, 11 Miscreated Monster, 10 Apothecary, 9 Zargala, 8 Tyrell, 7 Stag Knight, 6 Sylar, 5 Umbral Enchantress, 4 Seeker, 3 Gorgorab, 2 Skullcrown, and number 1 Madame Saris. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think. If there's somebody I didn't include that should be on the list, or if I had somebody ranked wrong in your opinion. I always enjoy learning from the comment sections and kind of reading what people say so that I can talk about it in future videos and kind of learn from you guys as well. So yeah, as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.